Hello, we are. Oh, we got a big message flashing up this time to tell us we're live, just in case we didn't pay attention, I suppose. Although it's nice to be, you hit that live button and you think, is it going to actually happen or not? So that's cool. But welcome to this week's live lunch. I can't believe that this is the penultimate live lunch before the end of 2020. So it's crazy that we've kind of got to this point. I think we started this thinking it might, we'd do it for a few weeks whilst we were in lockdown initially. And it's just, I don't know, the more we've been doing it, the more we've been enjoying it, or the more I've been enjoying it anyway. So, and as we know, it's all about me. But as always, we are here. We're going to talk about just what we're seeing going on in the social media world right now. Hopefully a few people will join us in the chat on Facebook, on my LinkedIn profile, and also on YouTube as well. We're crossing our fingers we don't get any trolls or spammers or anything like that this week on Facebook, because that gave us some entertainment last week. But yeah, like I said, this week it's just the Green Umbrella team talking about what's happening in social, what we're seeing from a digital marketing perspective, and hopefully sharing some of our wisdom, with you. I am going to apologise though, because I seem to be having issues with my connection and things keep stuttering. So if I look blank at any point, I have been paying attention. It's just that I may be missing a word or two, and I'm just like nodding along like I know what's going on. But yeah, okay, let's dive in. So where shall we start? Let's start with Amanda. How have you been, Amanda, this week? What have you been looking at? What have you been reading? What's been going on with your clients?
Oh, all sorts. There's no let up, considering we are 2 weeks out till Christmas, which is good. It's nice to see everyone's still active and got lots going on. So yeah, I won't. Emily and I have been learning heaps about LinkedIn and kind of changes that have been happening there. But Emily, I'll let you pick up on those, because I know that you're kind of more kind of doing with that with some of our clients. But I've just been reading again about lots of stats, lots of content. So trends that are coming up for next year. So 2021, and one of the ones I thought was quite interesting was what employees want out of their career in 2021. So don't worry, Christina, this is not us now making our demands on you. I
was a little bit worried then. Where are we going with this?
But that's the sort of thing that if you are, so maybe if you work in the HR space, if you're a recruiter, you want to be talking about content that's interesting for your audience. So, this was the ideal sort of things that people will go, actually, if I'm hiring, I need to know this, So it's the sort of thing that people could really get engaged with, want to read more about. And one thing that I read was that the most sort of craved after thing that people said they wanted was a 4-day working week. So
Christina's not happy with that one.
Really? Well, no, it's not that. It's just, I've seen so much content out there about, and this is over the last couple of years really, about, people experimenting with 4-day working weeks and that kind of thing. And then there's been lots of, basically, like everyone wants to work a 4-day week, but everyone wants to be in a business that has a 5-day week. So it's kind of like not everybody has that same day off for their 4 days, for their 3-day weekend, if you like, and like how the operation of the business fits in. It kind of, with the stuff that I've read, it kind of feels like it brings some instability to a team. And I'd have thought that right now, one of the things that are top of everyone's agenda is stability in terms of what they want work-wise.
It's a real balancing act, because flexibility is again the big kind of trend watchword that's coming out of it as well. So everybody's saying they want some flexibility in terms of where they work and the hours they work. So we've all obviously been forced into working from home this year, and people kind of want that choice. They want to know they can work from home sometimes, maybe work from the office, but working a straight 9 to 5 doesn't necessarily equal work-life balance. So people want to have that flex, and they've kind of had a taster of it this year. So, people have been able to maybe shift their working day around things like childcare, school runs, if you've got elderly relatives that have care commitments, dog walks even, things like that. It just allows you to flex. So as you say, there's kind of the stability is important, but people still want a bit of flex as well. So yeah, I do feel a bit for people in the HR space trying to balance that and obviously get the job done. But yeah, just from a content point of view, that's the sort of thing that provokes discussion and gets engagement on your posts. So yeah, we're really looking at content ideas that get people talking.
I saw an article, Amanda, about the 4-day working week, and apparently Unilever are testing it in their New Zealand branch or something. And they're like the first massive company to be trialing it. They said they're going to trial it for, I think it was 12 months, and then basically look at the stats and take it from there. So they weren't promising that it was going to continue. But yeah, they are trialing it for the first 12 months. I think it'll be interesting to see the results, to be honest.
And obviously mental health's a big talking point, and people saying, is it better for their mental health? And one thing that's come out in the news this week is that some of the major retailers are now, they're not going to open on Boxing Day. Which if that was suggested a couple of years ago, I think that people would have been like, are you crazy? The impact on our profits. But actually they're being, applauded for not doing that. It's kind of, people are going, what a great idea. What an amazing employer you are. So I think it's definitely Marks and Spencer. I think Asda's another one.
Asda.
Yeah. So they're really being, lauded over because it's such a good idea. So hopefully that what they might lose in footfall and revenue, they will get back again, because people, gives that warm fuzzy feeling, that purpose. So yeah, there's still lots of good content and lots of talking points out there at the moment.
So the thing I would say with that as well is that, people might be thinking, well, why, Green Umbrella's marketing agency, why are they talking about this stuff? And obviously it's that, it's something we've always banged the drum on, that, what is it that your target client, target customer is, what are they worried about, what's keeping them up at night, that kind of thing. But there's also a big marketing piece around employer branding. Actually, this stuff that so I've only seen the stories around Asda. I haven't seen anything around Marks and Spencer's. That's probably come out this morning. But the reality is that, when they're looking for staff next year, when they're running their marketing campaigns that are driving their, their kind of employment drives, actually, that they become an employer of choice because of this activity. And I think that's really, really important. Sometimes there's stuff that you're doing in your business that you don't see as being a marketing activity, when actually it's probably one of the key bits of marketing that you can really, really do. The beginning of lockdown, there was loads of conversation around, and I'm sure we talked about it on here. I know I talked about it in the Recruiting Brain Food 24-hour event. There was this phrase that people were using, and it was something along the lines of, you will be remembered for what you do now. Those brands that get looked after. So, Sports Direct came under fire, Wetherspoons came under fire because of the way they treated their staff. So from a marketing perspective, that was a PR nightmare, and like I said, sometimes you have to think about what you're doing for your, what are you doing internally that you wouldn't think does affect your ideal clients and the rest of it. But actually, if you can share that information, it can really, really contribute to how people see your brand. The thing with this is, as soon as we started to see that, the lockdowns were lifted and all that kind of stuff, you see it in the share prices straight away. People like Wetherspoons, Wetherspoons, Boohoo, and I can't remember who it is that owns Sports Direct now, but their share prices as well. It all skyrocketed. It also, as soon as it was like people can go to the pub again, Wetherspoons share prices went up. Don't get me wrong, nowhere near where they were. But this idea of people remember when you do the bad things and they change their buyer behavior because of it. It's not always that true. However, do something positive people do remember that. People, you do you become that brand that creates those like nice warm feelings that make people want to buy from you.
For me as well, I think it's if people are saying, "Oh, we as a brand, we care about work-life balance, we care about our employees." If they are doing those things, so sort of like Asda and Marks and Spencer, they now have evidence to back that up. It's not just something that they're just saying, they're just putting it out there as a brand, but they're not actually backing it up at all. Whereas, like you said, Christina, these other businesses are. So to me, that makes them more trustworthy. I'm more likely to shop there because I feel like if they're trustworthy and being honest about that, they're more likely to be honest about other things.
Yeah.
So when you started talking about 4-day work weeks, and I may have pulled a little face, it's because I struggle to, there are times where I struggle to restrict you guys to only working 5 days. And like Emily's like, she's like smiling now thinking, oh, I nearly swore, because Emily got busted working on Saturday. I think she thought she'd be able to sneak in a little bit of, a couple of emails and get ahead for the week, and I was like, what are you doing? What's going on here? But Paul's just put in the comments as well, because it is, as a business owner, you kind of never stop working. You never switch off. And it is hashtag small business owner issue, 100%. But I think it is that when you love what you do, it's really hard to just put it down and leave it alone. And when you're thinking about your mental health, your mental wellness, as much as you need a break and you need that rest, sometimes having that kind of peace of mind is that the fact that you've just got those extra 2 things off your list to make you feel like you're ahead for the following week.
Yeah, absolutely. So sometimes you think, if I just do this half an hour, whatever, it means that I've then got the headspace. It's not hanging over me. So yeah, it's a total balancing act. But as we said, these are the things that people are talking about that create conversations. So whilst people might be tuning in thinking, well, what's that got to do with social media or digital marketing? It's never about what necessarily you want. It's about what your audience wants to hear.
So quick poll then. If I said from January we're moving to a 4-day work week.
You can't do this on the live lounge.
It depends whether we're trying to.
Who immediately stopped breathing at that point?
No, it's fine.
Mark's
I'm good with it.
Oh, funny. Cool. So, Amanda, you said you've been working on something that Emily's been looking at as well. So, Emily, tell us about that then. What's that about?
So, Amanda and I were sent a document last night from one of our clients. It was actually really interesting, and it was basically an updated LinkedIn documents, basically talking about the algorithm and certain changes, things that have been made really recently that we could implement and that will work better, basically, in terms of pushing our posts out and getting more engagement and more reach. So a few of them I thought I would share because I thought they were really interesting to know. One of them was the amount of hashtags. So that has now changed for LinkedIn to be between 3 and 10. Apparently, the research is saying that hashtags between 3 and 10 work the best on LinkedIn. Tag, so when you tag in a company or a person, if that person or company does not engage with the post or the person untags themselves, LinkedIn now not punishes, but it basically punishes that post, and it doesn't push it out to as many people. So it's basically stopping people tagging loads of randomers in and basically spamming them. So I think that's quite a good thing. External links. So I have to admit, this is something that I learned from this document. It's saying we all know that LinkedIn doesn't really like, or any platforms don't really like you to direct people away from that platform. But from this research, it's discovered that if you create the post, publish the post, then edit the post and add the external link, that's a way around it. And apparently that works really well. I know there used to be some research into adding the link into the comments, but apparently that's a no-no. We shouldn't do that anymore. And then the final thing is, rather than asking your employees to share the company page's content, that no longer works because LinkedIn just sees it as duplicate content. So the best thing that you can do is give your employees that content for them to share themselves, and ask them to comment on your post, because comments now work better than shares. So yeah, a couple of those things I already knew, a couple of those things I didn't know. So yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. Like we say, sort of social media and changes and algorithms are always changing. So yeah, it's good to stay on top of it, basically. And I don't know about you, Manda, but I found it quite interesting to read it.
Yeah, definitely. Just echoing, it's, if you put less, so if you put 1 or 2 hashtags, you're missing a trick, basically. But we worked the golden rule of 3 for a long time, but actually you can put more in there. It's just, if you go past 10, it's seen as spammy. So, if you've got 4 or 5, go for it.
Absolutely. I do feel, and I get really frustrated at times when I see, so don't get me wrong, when the algorithm changes 100%, we should be pushing that information out there. But what tends to happen is that people forget that every single day Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Google they are constantly tweaking these algorithms, constantly. You would never stay on top of every single tweak and test that they make. So sometimes we see, like yesterday, there are Jane and I are part of a group on Facebook where we pick up a lot of the, what's new, what's happening, what's being tested, that kind of stuff. I think there is, they're testing a scheduling tool in Creative Studio for Instagram. They are, there's been stuff about the TikTok algorithm as well. There's been, there's something to do with Twitter. It's like, they're just testing something. And maybe it gets beyond a test, and maybe these are people that are sitting there looking at the coding behind these websites to look for changes so they can spot what's being trialed, what's being tested, that kind of stuff. You'd never stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So then, a change does happen. So if we think about LinkedIn and dwell time, which is probably the last, off the top of my head, that's probably the last big change in the LinkedIn algorithm, where now when you're scrolling through, if you pause to look at something, even though you don't engage in it, the fact that you've paused to look at it, well, LinkedIn's taking that into account. Okay, well, there's something of interest here. People want to look at this piece of content. Let's show it to more people. Well, actually, you're seeing loads and loads and loads of posts, and whether it's in a WhatsApp group or a blog somewhere, like, these are the latest changes, these are the latest changes. Well, no, we're just still talking about that same change again. It's just that, you can leverage that change in the algorithm by using PDF style posts, document posts, because people click through them. So even though they don't like or comment or share, actually just them pausing, looking at that post, clicking, flying through the slides, well, that adds to the dwell time.
Absolutely.
Go on, Amanda.
That came up in the report. So between Emily and I, will share a link to this report we're talking about, because it's nice and easily digestible as well. It's not like a really laborious 50-page document. It's nice and bite-sized. But yeah, dwell time they talked about a lot. PDF posts that people can scroll through like a carousel. But one thing we've also discovered is that a lot of scheduling tools don't allow you to upload a PDF. You have to do it natively. So the scheduling tools are kind of behind. So we've put requests in to say, can you add it to your development plan, please? Because that's what people are doing. So uploading, and I don't know, maybe it's LinkedIn are pushing for everything to be uploaded natively, because again, it picked out video. So sharing YouTube links is not preferential. Native video or Vimeo is okay. So uploading it natively works okay. But yeah, that all adds to the dwell time, which, as you said, is a real biggie. So yeah, there's some really, really useful stuff in there if you are using LinkedIn as a BD or marketing tool.
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I do. Paul's just put a comment on there. Yeah. All the changes in algorithms hurts his brain. 100%. 100%.
Oh, wow.
But the thing is, people focus so much on these changes, and I just think there are some people we speak to, if they focused as much on the quality of their content as they do on what's the latest change on LinkedIn and how do we cheat the system, they'd probably get better results and more results. And I think that this is the thing. It's a forget committing to staying ahead of it. That's kind of our job. Commit to producing fantastic content consistently, engaging with your audience, showing up, being part of your community. They're the things that matter. It doesn't matter whether you put 3, 5 or 10 hashtags in there. What matters is that if you put a really crap update and 10 hashtags, you've still got a crap bit of content.
Yeah, totally. It's like when people ask the best time to post. What's if you put rubbish content out at the best time, still not going to get engagement. But equally, yes, you can optimize things. And it's, totally, as you said, one of the stats they had in there was that people focused content. So like tomorrow, Christmas jumper day, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff going around about that. But that sort of content, or maybe if you're introducing a new team member, gets between 5 and 8 times more reach than an average post. So it's just basics like that we try and tell people. And as you say, you can get too bogged down in the behind the scenes stuff, but create engaging content on topics that people want to hear about, and you're more than halfway there.
Absolutely. And and try and mix up that content as well. So don't just constantly be posting links. It is share some imagery, and it doesn't have to be swish. This is where Mark's like, careful what you tell them now, Christina. But it's like, you can get stock photos, but actually a photo of yourself that's perhaps not the best framed thing because you've taken it yourself. People want to see you. They want to see that. I'm talking all the time about getting personal and kind of, getting yourself out there on your social media platforms, but that's what people engage in. The other thing I would say as well is just from a content perspective in general, I can see David Robson said hello over on LinkedIn. So, hey David. I don't know, find human beings. That's like, I'm like, what's he looking at? Does he mean us? But David's a recruiter in the education space, but he's recently launched a podcast, and he's interviewing some fantastic people that are serving his community, within the education sector, and telling some fantastic stories that are so relevant. I'm not in education, and I've listened to a couple of the episodes, and the conversations they're having is so interesting. And it is actually like, what can you do that is different? And yes, there are a lot of podcasts being launched right now, but it's about consistency. Okay, so it's one thing to launch a podcast and, do your first 6 episodes and then it kind of like, falls flat and disappears. But actually, if you're going to do something, you're going to create a new piece of content, a new media, you've got to have that consistency there. It is hard work. I'm working on my podcast. I've got everything is in the bag now, if you like, up until the new year. But it's been a real push over the last sort of 4 weeks to get that done so I can maintain that consistency. But it is, David is thinking about the content he's producing, how he can bring value, and what that looks like very much in a non-salesy way. So he can get the benefit of that further down the line. So yeah, little bit of a plug there. And David, if you are still tuned in, stick a link to your podcast in the comments, definitely, so people can check that out. But yeah, like I said, it's not just about LinkedIn and the algorithms there. People worry about the algorithms everywhere else. And it's like, just produce good content and mix it up a little bit. Don't fall into a habit where you're just like stuck in a rut and doing the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. So what else has been happening this week? Jane, what have you been playing with?
Well,
Keep
I've
it
been
clean.
all right. How to put someone off what they're about to say. Yeah, so I've been looking at the news again as ever, and yeah, continuing my theme of the last few weeks, shopping again. So new things this week. WhatsApp have included a shopping cart now in their shop. I think previously you could only buy one item at a time. Now they've put a cart in there, so you can actually obviously add a few things and then check out once at the end. If shopping through WhatsApp is your thing. But the other one that I thought was actually really interesting is Snapchat have partnered with people like John Lewis and Ralph Lauren, and they are allowing you to add clothes to your Bitmojis. So you can add like Levi's jeans and a shirt and things like that. So you can do it sort of on the cartoon version, but now they're going into an AR version as well. So you can sort of film yourself, it turns you into your Bitmoji and then puts the clothes on you. So I thought that was quite interesting.
That's
and the idea is that
cool.
because you can't try anything on in person, you can try it on this way and then you might go and buy it. So I thought that was quite cool, actually. I've not tried it out, but it sounds cool to me.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Who uses Snapchat?
No.
I do sometimes for like if I want to take a stupid photo, but I don't actually send it to anyone.
I use it to keep my nephew
Just for your own entertainment.
Well, basically, yeah.
So have you actually got any friends on there? That's the problem.
Yeah, I've got loads of friends, but I don't use it in that way. But now I look silly now, but that's what I use it for.
It's really interesting because it feels like Snapchat is a platform that is kind of slowly dying off. People aren't using it. We don't hear much in terms of people's like marketing campaigns where they're really like going to town on Snapchat, and you kind of feels like it's just going the way that, you know, things like Blab went, where people were all over it and they just kind of left it alone until it just disappeared into sort of, you know, social media platform heaven. But every now and then they have this like little flurry of updates, or, you know, and they're shared again. You know, I look at performance of all the social media companies on a semi-regular basis, and Snapchat's another one where even though it doesn't seem to really have much traction from a marketing perspective these days, the share price still increases. And I honestly thought with TikTok becoming more and more popular that we would just see it disappear. So it's an interesting one, but I think this is pretty cool in terms of what they're doing now. I've only seen like literally 2 articles I think on it, so I haven't delved into it too much, but yeah, it just sounds really funky, doesn't it? It's like something you want to play with.
Yeah, might download it and have a go just for that reason. There'll probably be loads of people will do that, and then everyone will be back on Snapchat again. But
yeah. So what else have you seen this week, Jane? Has there been anything else at all, or?
Yeah, well, it was an interesting article actually about the trends on Facebook that people have been posting about and sort of searching for over this year, and it was sort of broken down by country. Sorry, I'm going to read this just because there's quite a lot of it, but it was just so in the UK, one of the most things people have searched on or posted about was growing your own food. So that's, you know, and I did it as well. In fact, I planted basil and tomatoes and all sorts of things, and people have been searching allotments and raised beds and all sorts of stuff like that, and also personalising your own fashion. So tie-dye and DIY clothes and sewing and stuff like that. That's all been really popular here. Whereas in the US, they're quite different. So theirs has been sort of awareness and action. So Black Lives Matter and things like that. And also casual culture, sort of how to do your own hair and makeup and stuff like that, because you can't go out and have it done. And then Canada, theirs is all about DIY in the home and stuff like that. Mexico was digital banking, and India was getting more people more connected with each other, and the e-commerce as well. But it was just really interesting that sort of how different the world has been. So we've all been in the same situation, but the things we've all searched for and done have been absolutely poles apart, basically.
Do you know, that is really interesting when you think back to, and I'm not saying it is a comparison at all, but if you think back to kind of like March, April, where we went into lockdown and people were saying things like, you know, that it's like the wartime spirit. It's and there were a lot of stories that were kind of liking the situation to being in, you know, like living with rationing and stuff like that, you know. And I'm not saying that that's something that I necessarily agree with, but it's really funny to then hear those UK trends, because it does make you think of, okay, well, you know, how do we, what's the phrase, make do and mend, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
I feel like I'm showing my age, but it makes me think of the Good Life, Tom and Barbara.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes, yeah.
Are you
Obviously,
a
that's
Barbara
like,
or a Margot and Jerry.
yeah. I was just about to say, like, you know, just start picking you all off as to who was who then. And I was like, well, right, well, cultural references, Christina, where to stop? Don't be inappropriate. Try and get through one live lunch without being inappropriate. That's what was going through my head then. And I just, like, my mouth just stopped. It couldn't work.
I'm quite curious now who I would be. You have to send us a message after. I don't mind. I don't get offended.
You're definitely more of a Barbara.
Mm.
I don't know.
Jane's definitely a Barbara.
I don't know which one's Barbara. That doesn't
The
help.
posh one.
Oh,
The posh one.
Margot's the posh one.
Oh,
Margot, is
Margot,
it?
sorry. I'm getting the name. I'm not very good with names. Yeah.
If anyone is under 30 watching, they probably won't have a clue what we're talking about either.
To be fair, I've seen it before.
Okay,
But,
okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but you're old for
Yeah.
it.
Doesn't really count, does it?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, yeah, no, it is interesting though, looking at the trends, because you kind of look at the, like, what you believe to be the case culturally about those countries as well. The India one surprises me actually, because but everyone getting close, being closer together, more
I
connected.
think connected electronically as opposed to in person. So.
Yeah. So it's just, you know, because of the sort of the culture of family over there, I guess I think I would have expected it to go more that route, if you like. But no, it is interesting when you think about, because we all have these preconceptions, don't we? You know, and it is like, you know, Great Britain, we're make, do and mend, and you know what that means, and you know, you know, I'm probably being judgy again, as the typical marketer that I am. I have to judge everyone, but yeah, no, it's interesting.
We can share the link to that as well, of the kind of most searched and Googled terms. There's some eye openers on there, put it that way, as well, with things that have, you know, keep it relatively clean, but there are some eye openers on there of like song lyrics and things that have been trending, that have been Googled. So yeah,
like
we'll put the link in and people can have a look.
Like what? Come on, you've started now.
There's a rap song that kind of went a bit viral earlier this year. It's called WAP, but that's all I'm going to say. I made the mistake of Googling it and YouTubing it. I was like, I didn't make songs like this when I was younger. Good Lord. Made me blush, Christina.
Really?
Just going to Google
So,
it when
Mark,
we're done now.
Yeah, Mark, what have you been up to? Anything made you blush this week?
No, only the fact that people were Googling that. No, I mean, it's been a pretty busy week, so a lot of website stuff again. So back cracking on with new jobs for that side of things. So yeah, all good.
Excellent.
Oh, I've got to say something else.
Yeah.
Still got away with it. I know.
I'm like that.
Oh, my voice has gone. Oh no. We were hoping to actually have maybe a guest on today, which was going to be Emma from Emma's Aim, so we can obviously just highlight a few things about that. If anyone's been following us over the last few years, especially around this time of year, you've seen that we've posted about Emma's aim. So it started a few years ago. Emma came to us for some help just on some normal design and print sort of work to help one of her events. And basically Emma's story is she was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 16. She's still battling with it now. And she runs a charitable sort of trust to help adults, young adults, and children that are going through cancer treatment. So, it's always been great to be able to help her out with bits and bobs. And this time of the year, instead of sending Christmas cards, we do a donation to her instead. As I say, we were hoping to have her maybe on today, but she's actually out and about delivering Christmas goodie bags and things. So fingers crossed we'll be able to get her on live lunch in the new year to tell more about it.
Yeah, I think she's just such a positive character anyway. But she's put so many events and things together that have been really, really good to raise money. And I think it kind of started off as something that was a bit of a, I'll raise some money for charity. And was it last year she actually registered as her own charity? And she's just doing more and more stuff. And it's just fantastic given her story, what she's been able to do. And she's on our doorstep as well. So it's really good to be able to support her, especially this year where so many charities are really struggling. People are not giving the way that they used to.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think obviously Emma normally does obviously events like we said, like last year there was the ball, and she normally does a Christmas event as well, sort of this time of year. So obviously those kind of things haven't been able to happen this year. So it's just been a case of obviously I think getting donations as opposed to actually being able to run sort of those kind of things to generate funds. But hopefully, obviously next year, she can get back to, doing some more of the normal things that she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I could see someone's just put the links in on the comments. So yeah, please do have a look on there, have a read. There's obviously links to Emma's website, a direct link that you can just donate on PayPal, which I'm sure would be gratefully received. And obviously social media links and things, give her a follow on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and just especially if you are Northamptonshire based, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Okay, so I do want to say something else on that. I think that as businesses, we all at this time of year, you probably looked at things, and if you haven't done it already, you're kind of thinking, well, actually, maybe I have got a bit of spare cash to do presents for your clients and all that sort of stuff. And it's fantastic. And of course, you should reward those people that have shown you their loyalty this year, especially. There's people that you're introducers that give you the referrals and all of that kind of thing. But there probably are charities on your doorstep that are struggling. And as much as, that there are businesses left, right and centre that are not making it through, that are failing and having to close their doors. But actually, there's probably local charities that you maybe even never even heard of before that are in a very similar situation where they're just kind of going, actually, maybe we just need to close things down now because they can't keep going. So, as much as the bottles of wine and the chocolates and, everything else and the hampers and, the branded gifts and all that sort of stuff that you would normally be doing, or, where you might have spent budget this year because you were going to an event and you haven't had to do that and the money's still sitting there. Of course, we all want to protect our cash flow and keep the cash in the business and blah, blah, blah. But actually, even if it was just 10% of what you might have spent on that stuff this year and you can help a local charity, it is just, there's so many of these things, and there would be something next to every business owner, whether you are in sunny Daventry or, inner city London or, wherever overseas, there will be someone that can actually really, really benefit from that. And, we end up spending so much money on just crap. You know, and it's like, you know, and that's just from a business perspective, from a personal perspective as well. It's like
there's a moral lesson in here for us, Christina, isn't there?
I just, you know, I'm really frustrated. I'm really frustrated at the minute. I'm like, I don't want to buy any plastic shit this Christmas. I'm just like, I'm so frustrated. There's so many fantastic organisations that they're not getting any help. They rely on the kindness of others. And of course, so many people are in such difficult situations. And I totally get that. But, you know, it's like, it might only be a couple of quid here, might only be 20 quid there. But there are people in society that have got, you know, can do the hundreds or thousands potentially, that, you know, they're sending out cases of champagne. And I just think, well, you know, so we keep picking on Paul today with his comments. But, you know, Paul said as well, you know, buying local, supporting small business. Do a search on Instagram. I've got to be careful what I say, because I've organised something for someone that is likely to watch this. And I'm so excited about it. I can't tell you how excited I am about this gift. And it never even occurred to me. And it's this, that the vendor is she's in her early 20s. She's normally doing the kind of job you do when you're at university kind of thing. And she's in lockdown. She sort of set up this little business of her own. And what she's doing is it's kind of very much like your kitchen table type of business, if you like. But actually, I've been able to send a very, very special, personalised, specific gift by using this girl. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's a tiny little thing in my head that says that actually that money that I've spent with that business, you know, the impact of that on, like, you know, the Christmas she's about to have. I don't know.
Very stressful fulfilling your order, probably.
Shut up, Amanda.
Sorry. I'm sorry to resist.
I was being all like, you know, it's like, oh, shop local, and you kind of think, okay, so is there like the independent gift shop in your local town and that kind of thing? But actually, just get on Instagram, whatever it is you're thinking of, get on Instagram, do a search. Who is there that doesn't have a shop front? Maybe they're only selling 50 quid's worth of stuff a month, but actually your 20 quid order, it has a massive impact. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I'm sorry, I'm ruined the moment, but yeah.
in the naughty corner, Amanda.
But no, definitely, and kids as well. So I don't have kids, but I have nieces and nephews. Pretty sure they won't be watching, so this is no spoiler for them. But I've bought, you know, things for us to go and do. So I know kids don't like opening envelopes; they like opening presents. But so I've brought them a couple of things to open, but they're like less than a tenner. And then I've said, right, I'm going to take you to go and do this when the weather's better. So we'll go and do, like, I don't know, sea kayaking or something like that. Something really fun that they will create a memory, and supports the local business that's doing it. So yeah, I do totally agree. Buy local. Please don't leave me in the Don't leave me in there.
Buy local. I like that big finish, Amanda.
Oh man. Okay. So yeah, that's just a stocking fillers. Okay, so just to explain that reference, okay, so I have to admit, Amanda, Paul and I had a private conversation after last week's live lunch.
How did you?
Okay, because we've decided that it's not normal to spend £10 on items to go in a stocking.
Some things in the stocking are like, you know.
Sometimes you can have nicer things. Like you could have a main present in a stocking, couldn't you?
Really, no, that's a present.
But if it's
not a present.
Well, we put all presents in stockings. We just fill up the stocking and then might have like 1 or 2 presents outside the stocking.
See, everyone has
I'm with
different
you.
rituals.
Yeah, it's a family tradition. It's yeah.
No, we have stocking and tree presents, but
Yeah, so do we.
You know.
In my day, you got a tangerine and a walnut in your stocking.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you've got to have a satsuma.
Yep.
A satsuma, 2
coin.
quality streets,
chocolate coins.
Yep.
chocolate
Chocolate
coins,
Exactly.
pair of socks.
Yeah, pair of socks.
or gloves.
Mm.
Yeah. There's no £10 gift. That's just you, Amanda.
Paul said,
So
"Good life,
as
baby."
always, as always, we're descending into chaos. And just so that everyone knows, when we have like we have 2 like catch-up meetings in the week where we go through like all the projects we're working on and everything else, the same thing happens. It all starts off very serious, then it just descends into chaos. And I have to be honest, some of the conversations we have there, we wouldn't, we definitely don't want live streaming. So this is the cleaned up version. This is us on our best behavior. God help us. But yeah, there we go. So before we wrap up, has anyone got anything else that they've seen this week, or they've been working on, or they've discovered, or have we already covered all the highlights?
The new some of the new features in Photoshop are quite fun to test on Emily.
No, yeah.
Oh, don't post that.
No. There's some really useful stuff like sky removal, which is geeky and useful for certain things, but then there's like facial filters and things that have never been in Photoshop before, so it just had to be done. But yeah, it's not for public consumption again.
Yeah, it's not good look for me.
Do you know we should set a target? Okay, so let's say, because so Emily runs our social media usually. So Emily, you've got a week to encourage, what should we say, 500 quid's worth of donations for Amazon.
Okay.
And and basically, if you don't hit that target next week on live lunch, we will screen share that photo.
That is blackmail. You just said that live. Right.
It's out there now. It'll be done.
I'm going.
To be fair, we've got better photos of Emily that haven't been photoshopped that we should share.
Yeah, we have.
I've got a lot of you as well. Don't you forget that.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we do a green umbrella calendar
Oh no, can we just...
Oh,
in
no.
support
No,
of Amazon.
I think we need that HR department.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right. Okay, let's draw it to a close. So we're not going to show that photo of Emily, but please do. The link is in the comments. Please have a click through. If it's only a couple of quid, just make a donation. We would really, really love you to do that. Next week's live lunch, we are going to reach out to a couple of people that have joined us over, since we started doing this earlier this year, and that will be our last live lunch of 2020. And because the following week is Christmas Eve, so next week is the last one of the year. So come and join us there, 12 o'clock. Live on Facebook, on my LinkedIn account, and on YouTube as well. Have an amazing week, and we will catch you all then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.